Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, the Janet Jackson Together Again tour. Man, let me just say, Janet Jackson is always a really great time when you see her live. And I have to say, I'm kind of exhausted because I've done 6 concerts in 8 days. And that also does not include the 4 concerts I did in April. So I've seen a lot of people in the last few weeks. I'm kind of punching myself in the face for how much money I spent. Even when it came to the show, I was like, man, I really want a tour book. But you know what? I had to be like a parent to myself. Either you get a shirt or a tour book. You're not getting both. And so I decided to get the shirt. So, you know, they gave you this nice shirt. I love this picture here. I think this is so dope. And so I got the shirt. But anyway, what's so funny, when it comes to Janet, I always ruin the concert experience before I can get to the concert. Because every time she goes on tour, as soon as that first date takes place, the first thing I'm doing is scrolling through the internet, looking at all the clips. I'm on YouTube, watching all the performances. I'm on Twitter, looking through the hashtag and seeing what's happening. And so by the time she gets to my city, I've already learned the whole show. You know, I know exactly when she's going to come out of the ground, when the lasers are going to come from this side, when the dancers come this way, when the pyrotechnics are going to shoot out. I know everything. It's almost to the point where, like, Janet, you could just go ahead and call me to be one of the backup dancers. If you need a 5th one, let me know. Like, that's like where it is. So for this tour, I had challenged myself to not watch anything. And it was so hard. Now, mind you, I went to 2 shows. I went to the Bristow, Virginia show, since she did not come to DC. I'm going to tell you, Janet, I was cussing you out in the car when I was driving to Bristow, Virginia, wherever that was. See? Janet, where do you have me going? What is a Bristow, Virginia? I don't know what's out here. You could have went down the street to Capital One Arena like somebody normal, but that's okay. I'm still going. I'm in this car forever. Jesus. And I also went to the Baltimore show. And so, you know, that was probably about 3.5, 4 weeks into the tour. So she had already done a bunch of dates. And so it was a challenge to not watch any clips. I had to mute Janet Jackson everything. Like, on Twitter and everything, Janet Jackson was muted. All the names of the albums were muted. Even the cities she was going to were muted. I had to mute some of the people I follow because, you know, I follow a bunch of music heads and everybody's posting their experiences. And it doesn't help you're watching some of your friends post their meet and greet pictures that I was not paying for. So as much as I love Janet, I don't believe in paying to meet nobody. I'll pay to see you perform, but I'm not paying to take a 2-second picture and then get brushed away and then the next person comes in. I'm good on that. But, man, so it was so hard to not spoil the show. And I did pretty good. Like, I didn't see too much of the show. But again, people, if they don't know me for YouTube or whatever else, they know that I love me some Jacksons. They know I love Michael. They know I love me some Janet. And so people still start sending you stuff. So I got aunts and cousins sending me clips. I'm like, y'all, stop sending me this. I didn't even want to know what the stage looked like. And I'm like, y'all are messing this up for me. But I did pretty good. I didn't see the majority of the show. So I really got to just enjoy it as a fan. And so I'm going to just share the experience of both shows together. I'm going to just merge it into one. Because again, like, it's a good experience no matter what city you're in. And so with the Bristow, Virginia show, it was so funny. You know, if you don't know, I used to work with kids. I ran a community center for 11 years. And so a lot of the kids that I once worked with are now adults and they're graduating from college and stuff. So I had a handful of students that were graduating from Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, which is about, 3-4 hours from here in DC. And so somehow, if I knew this, I would have booked a different show, but I totally forgot the graduation and the Bristow, Virginia show were in the same day. And so it was like, okay, going down 4 hours to the graduation and then having to hightail it back to get up here in time for the concert. And one of the things I did do, because if you saw my New Edition review, I talked about getting caught up in the parking situation and missing a piece of the show. I was not missing Janet. Like, we don't miss Miss Jackson around these parts. Absolutely not. And so I was reading the commentary and they're saying, hey, if you're going to any kind of show at, Jiffy Lube Live, which is the venue, it's like this random 20,000 seat amphitheater out in the middle of nowhere. Go early because there's only like so many ways to get to the venue, and so some people sometimes get stuck and they just sit in traffic all day. It reminds me of, and I think I said this on the live, the opening night of the On the Run tour in Miami that time, and there were a lot of people that never made it to the venue just because traffic was chaotic. I was not going to be that one. And so I remember leaving the graduation in Norfolk and trying to, get up to the area. The plan was to go home and put on some fun concert clothes and then go to the show. But man, by the time I got even in proximity of where the venue was, my GPS was saying, like, you're still going to be like 2 hours to get there. And mind you, I'm already pretty much in DC. I was like, let me just go straight to the concert. So I had to go to the concert in commencement clothes. I was like, I don't even got nothing fun on. Whatever. But anyway, the show was a really, really good time. Ludacris was the opening act. At first, when I saw that he was the opener, I thought that was a very interesting choice. I was like, okay, I rock with Luda, but I didn't know if that was the best choice. But honestly, Luda gave a great show. Luda was a lot of fun. You forget how many hits he has. And again, he's a performer, so he there's not a lot of rappers I really get into as far as live performances because a lot of them don't be doing nothing. But Luda was fun, and I didn't realize, like, dang, I really know almost all of these songs. And he didn't even get to do all of his songs because he has so many hits. Because I was waiting for him to do Saturday, he was never in the set list. But it was a great show. He had costumes and everything, got the crowd all extra hype, and I mean, it was a great time. So Luda was a great opening act. Janet doesn't really do a lot of opening acts anymore, so I was shocked that she had one. But I thought it was a great pairing. I guess people will understand if you go to the show, because a lot of folks were like, Ludacris, what's that? It worked. You just had to be there. It was a great time, especially at Baltimore when he got to move, get out the way. That had to be the latest crowd. But as far as Janet Jackson, Janet, like I said, always has a fun show. It's great energy. I love even watching the people in the crowd. I like to watch people enjoy themselves. I even like watching people that don't have any rhythm and can't dance at a concert. That's the best to watch ever, because I think sometimes there's just some entertainers that bring out the innocence in everybody, or bring out the youthfulness, or bring out a space where people are allowed to be vulnerable and just have a good time. You get that at a Janet Jackson show. You get that at a lot of shows with people who have these catalogs that just bring back really good memories. And so, when Janet's show opens, and by the way, I'm giving spoilers, so if you have not seen the show, maybe you should turn this off and come back after you go. Unless you're planning to just not go and just, get your synopsis of the show from me. Cool. But, when they finally get to Janet, and the other thing too, Janet was on time. There was not a whole lot of time between Ludacris and Janet. Like, Luda did his set, I swear, it couldn't have even been more than 10 minutes, and Janet was out at both shows. Both the Bristow, Virginia show, which was an outdoor venue, and then the CFG Bank Arena show in Baltimore, which is like the indoor arena. Like, because I remember even, one of the things that was also really cool is I kept running into people who knew me. Like, I didn't know them, but they knew me from YouTube. So it was like 8 or 9 people that knew me from YouTube, especially at the Baltimore show. It was like every time I turned around, I was like, Calvin! I'm like, oh, hey. And I was hoping somebody important would see that, so they'd be like, hey, you want to come backstage and meet her? You seem like you must carry some weight. But it didn't happen. But yeah, so I remember after Luda had performed, there were a few people that I kind of somewhat indirectly knew. So I was like, let me try to go and say what's up to them before Janet comes on. And like, as soon as I got out of my seat and got to the other side of the venue and got to say about 2 what's ups, them lights were going back down. I'm trying to get to my seat. Like, I ain't missing no, we need the whole thing. So much for that. But anyway, with the show, they open with this great montage, and it's, celebrating 50 years. I'm like, dang, man, Janet's really been doing this thing for 50 years. Like, that's some amazing stuff, and for her to still be here is super dope. So they had this long montage of all these different pictures and stuff, and I love the musicality of the show and just the music that was used, which was really, for me, the biggest highlight of the show. The musicality is so good in this show. As a music head, I really enjoy paying attention to everybody's band and the arrangements and how they're going to transition songs, and whether or not they pitched up a song or pitched it down or sped it up or slowed it down or remixed. I love all of that. And so Janet had an amazing band. And I will say, there's always some artists where no matter who no matter where you see them at, they're always going to have an amazing band no matter what tour it is. Janet has always had an amazing band on every tour. I think my favorite bands that she's had in general, the Janet tour band, Velvet Rope tour band, I really liked Stage of the World tour band. Metamorphosis band was cool. This band was really, really good as well. This was about a 5-piece band. But like, Janet's always gonna have a good band. Jill Scott always has an amazing band. Erica, Mary, a lot of the neo soul acts are always gonna have a super dope band. Beyonce has a good band when I see her. I just love the band. I love a band because the band can just breathe life into songs and just do so many different things. And so what was so dope is Janet just had so many unique arrangements where even sometimes there were songs that would be merged together, or there were different little remixes and bits and pieces here where it just enhances the song. So you're not just getting a version of the songs that you hear on the radio or you hear on the album. A lot of times the songs have been so retuned and rearranged that sometimes it's almost a different song, but it's just so good. And the thing that I've always said, and I remember reading this in an article when I went to the Rock With You tour, and the writer of that author said it so perfectly. There's some artists who have hits, but somebody like Janet Jackson has classics. And what I mean by that is because she has so many hits that were not just hits, but big hits. Like when you dig into her catalog, especially during her peak, that about 86 to about 02, when you look into all of those 28 top 10 hits she had, the majority of them were actually top 5 hits. Like if you take away Because of Love and You Want This, every other single, and not including Pleasure Principle, every other single between Control and All For You were all, and Son of a Gun, were all top 5 hits. So Janet has always had these monster hits, and so to watch people sometimes relive those moments, because again, Janet has a very diverse crowd. Like, you're gonna have the diehard fans, you're gonna have people who have company tickets, you're gonna have people who are bringing their kids or bringing their parents, so they're on date night. It's just this really rich crowd of people, and so sometimes just watching people respond and react to hearing certain songs that maybe they haven't heard in years, right? It's just a great thing, and because Janet has bright music, like her catalog, in my opinion, has always been very bright. She has a lot of feel-good music, which is probably why I really always liked her catalog. But her songs always feel so good to hear. They remind you of happier times or being in a happy space. Like, it's even like if you just close your eyes and listen to a lot of her songs, you can almost see her smiling in the booth as she's recording it. Like, that's kind of what I've always liked about her up-tempos. Just really, really just fun songs. And so let me jump into the set list real quick, because what's really dope is Janet really has learned to embrace her catalog. You know what I mean? I think in a lot of the earlier tours, as great as all of them are, they're all really great, but there's always been a pressure for Janet to, do the classics and do the hits, which is great. But if you're somebody that's a diehard fan and you go to every Janet show, like I've seen Janet like 9 times, as great as Rhythm Nation is, and as great as If is, and as great as Black Cat is, there's only so many ways you want to see those songs performed. So I think when she adds in additional songs specifically for like diehard fans, it just gives a good balance, and then everybody's happy. The diehard fans who literally travel with her from tour to tour always get a new experience. The fans that are casual, or even people who aren't even fans, they just want to see a show, even they get something that they're familiar with. And so I always think it's a good deal, So let me go into the set list, because she has so many songs that were hits, she couldn't even do them all. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to find my little list here. Janet, where you at? Okay, so the opening, she opens with Demita Joe, the song. I said, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is about to be a good show. Janet is about to just give us everything. That's what I really also liked about Metamorphosis and State of the World, was those are tours where she really started. And I'll even say Unbreakable to an extent. Those are tours where she really started to embrace her catalog outside of just the major hits, but also a lot of the gems that fans really like, and a lot of the gems that either should have been singles, or even some of the singles that didn't really, become what they could have become after 2004. Like, so she opens with Demita Joe. Then she goes into the Together Again DJ Premiere remix. Now, mind you, there's like a million remixes of Together Again. This is the version she did on the AMAs back in '98. So she goes into that, which I was like, yeah, this is for the fans here. Then she goes into Feedback. She goes into So Much Better, which again, I'm like, okay, so she's giving homage to a lot of the albums. And then she goes into If. What I loved about If, because I didn't expect it, she had brought the arm blades back. I said, oh, okay, all right, because she said years ago, like, this thing here, it hurts her rotator cuff, because you've done that routine for so many decades and decades, and people want you to still do it like it's 1993. And normally she always had If towards the second half of the show after her All For You tour. So I'm sure after you've done all that dancing, it hurts to do this because your arms are tired. So she was smart. She moved If at the front of the tour. Okay, she went back to like the Janet Velvet Rope era. So we're going to put it at the beginning of the show, because I can do it now, but I'm probably not going to be doing it in 2 hours, because as much as I love Janet, she is 57, all right? Father Time does kick in, and no matter how great she looks, those bones and joints are still 57. And it's not to be ageist, but it's to also be a realist and understand that you can't expect all of these entertainers to still be their 20-year-old selves when they've been performing for 30 plus years and giving it their all. So you're just happy they're on stage. But no, she did amazing. So If was in there. She did No Sleep off of Unbreakable. She did Got Till It's Gone. That's the Way Love Goes, which I loved that arrangement. Like, she went ahead and did That's the Way Love Goes. I really liked how she did it on State of the World, where she mixed it or remixed it with Aaliyah's Rock the Boat. But this one was really cool. She kind of mixed it with like a samba merengue type thing. Thing. And so that was really, really dope. I enjoyed that. And speaking of Enjoy, she performed Enjoy from 20YO, which she's never performed, so that was really cool. Let me see what else. And then she got into the second act, and this is kind of when she goes into a lot of the big hits that everybody would really recognize. What Have You Done For Me Lately? I really like that arrangement. She first started doing it around like summer of 2022 when she did a few different events in Essence Festival where she kind of jazzes it up. So it's still funky on the hook, but the verses are real jazzy and real subtle. And so I really enjoyed that. Of course, she goes into Nasty, Pleasure Principle. My favorite bit of the show, just because this is one of my favorite freaking songs ever, was Because of Love. Janet has not performed that song since the Janet tour. That's like 30 years ago. And so the minute I heard that little flute sounding thing and heard them shoot doo-doos, I was like, oh, snap. Oh, like, man, that's one of my favorite songs. Always has been. I even like the version she performed on the Janet tour that they released as a promo video too. I used to always love watching that. But Because of Love is one of my favorite songs. Even like if you follow me or listen to my music, like on my last album from some years ago, I have a song called Addicted that pretty much I was so obsessed with Because of Love back in the day. It literally uses the background arrangements of Because of Love from the Janet tour. It's kind of infused within the song. So yeah, I love Because of Love. It's just a favorite. It's a feel-good song. Super happy. When I Think of You was next, and then she went right into Diamonds. She went into Best Things in Life for Free, and mind you, she sounds really good on all of these songs too. Like it's like there's just some extra life that has been put into the songs, in addition to how great the band sounds. Like she just sounds really good on this tour. Like this is really, in my opinion, the best I've heard her probably since like the Rock With You tour. She sounds really good as far as like the vocal arrangements and how things are presented. She did Control, she went into When We Ooh, then she did the Together Again Deeper remix, which is, if you remember, she had two music videos for Together Again. There's the really happy, whimsical one that takes place with the elephants and lions and stuff, and then there's the Together Again Deeper remix where she has the red hair and it's sensual, and she's in her apartment all by herself. There's that song. So I was like, okay, she said it's the Together Again tour. Y'all gonna hear all the versions of this song. So that was dope. Then she got into Come Back to Me, which is always a favorite. I love that one. Let's Wait a While. Like Janet, I was like, how many songs you gonna be doing tonight, Janet? But like, I can't complain. I enjoyed every minute of it. Then she went into Lonely and kind of mixed it with Funny How Time Flies When You're Having Fun, which I thought was dope. When she did Essence in the summer, she had mixed Let's Wait a While and Lonely. Lonely is a song off the Rhythm Nation album that's towards the end, which would have been a really great single, but I don't know how it would have done with radio. But a lot of like R&B heads love the song Lonely. Like it's such a good one. And then she went into Again. Now I ain't gonna lie, she was getting on my nerves on this song because Again has never really been my favorite. I love the piano, I love the song. For some reason, I'd be good on the song though. And so that's the song where she wants the audience to sing. So she made us sing the first verse. The second verse, she did a little piece here and there, and then she pretty much took the bridge and the climax. But I was like, Janet, all right. Oh, okay, Miss Jackson, if you say so. But it sounded really good, of course, the arrangements. Anytime, Any Place was a favorite. I loved Anytime, Any Place. And then it went right into the remix of I Get Lonely, which, again, that's probably one of my favorite bits out of the set. It was just like, she just takes you down this trip of all these hits. Because, again, these are all like some bangers. They're not even just songs that people remember, but they're songs that people used to sing at the top of their lungs. And they're songs that just, take people to a place of like euphoria and a place of just, happier times. And you just remember what you're doing when you hear all these songs. Then they have like an intermission. In the intermission, they have some other songs playing. So they have like The Body That Loves You, like a remix version of that. Runaway and You Want This and Spending Time With You. She didn't perform those, but they were kind of infused in with what the band was doing with the arrangement in between the sets. And then she went into another set where she does Doesn't Really Matter. She does All For You. She does Come On Get Up off the All For You album. I really enjoyed this mashup of Free Zone from the Velvet Rope and Throb from the Janet album. Throb is a fan favorite. They love to see Throb. Free Zone, I've always loved the arrangements on it. The musicality on that song has always been really dope. So for her to kind of mix the two together, I thought that was really cool. And then she had this segment where she wanted to highlight some of the songs she doesn't really get to perform often. So at this point, she's using like the DJ to kind of just play the song, and her and the dancers are kind of just goofing off and having fun on the stage. So they do Girlfriend Boyfriend, which is the song that she had with Blackstreet. Like You Don't Love Me from Demita Joe, which if you saw my So What Happened video, I said that was one of the best songs on the album. I love that song. And Do It To Me as well, which is another favorite. I would have loved for her to have done a mashup of Do It To Me and Love from the Discipline album. That would have been really, really cool. And then she went into So Excited, which sounds really great live. It's very bright and in your face, like pow, especially when the song ended and then the band did a reprise to set up for the next segment. Really, really cool. And then we got into the next act of the show. Like I said, she has so many songs. It's like you almost forget how many she has that are songs that resonate well with the audience. She went into a mashup of New Agenda from the Janet album and went right into The Knowledge. And then she went into Miss You Much, Love Will Never Do Without You, All Right, Escapade, Scream, a very unique version of Black Cat she's never done before, which was really, really dope. It kind of served as the bridge on Scream. And then she went into Rhythm Nation, and then she closed with Together Again. And what was really cool about Together Again is that the performance starts from her dressing room. So of course, she does that big Rhythm Nation closing, and everybody thinks the show's over, but everybody knows it's not over because the house lights haven't come up yet. And so out of nowhere on the screen, it shows her in the dressing room, readjusting her makeup and everything. And then she starts the song there and works her way back to the stage. But what was so cool is that all of her dancers had these special cameras that were hooked to the Megatron screens she has 4 male dancers, and I think she had like 6 or 7 screens, right? And so each dancer that had their camera, each camera would be calibrated to one of the screens. And so they're going around the audience. So the audience are the people that are on the screen. It was really, really cool. It was a lot of fun. And so the set list I enjoyed. I really think that might be one of my favorite set lists she's ever had. It was such a good mix, right? And to me, it's a fun show. She's always going to have a great set list, right? But I think this was a great balance of the hits and fan favorites. That was also one of the really positive critiques I had about the State of the World tour as well, where, she performed a lot of songs she hadn't performed before. Like when she did 24 Play, I almost passed out. And so, or even Metamorphosis as well, acknowledging a lot of songs. So I love that in the later years of her career, she got into a space where she didn't feel pressure to only do the big hits that people know, but she's more comfortable with, really appreciating her catalog. Because like I said, she has a great body of work. What else I also like? I love the staging. I love the entire stage. Like Janet in more recent times has had a real, stripped down kind of set. I think the Rock With You tour, which that was the first time I ever saw Janet, that to me was like the last tour where she had this really big production as far as the staging and the pyrotechnics flying out of the ground, and she had this big catwalk. That was like the last tour where she had this very expansive stage. Number One's tour was very stripped down. It was pretty much just Janet on the stage with the band and about 2 screens, which was actually kind of dope because it kind of shows that she can be entertaining without all the hoopla. Because, if you saw that show, by the time she got to them last 3 or 4 legs of the tour, she was just in jeans and a tank top. Like she said, y'all want up close and personal? That's what you gonna get. And so, Unbreakable, State of the World tour, pretty decent stages. But this stage here, and I guess Metamorphosis is like the big production stage, but that's stationary because it was a residency, so she didn't have to travel with it. But, this stage here, it was like I said, she had I don't remember how many screens she had, but these big screens that just moved and came and went all around. And then there was this big round globe thing that was like a screen, but LSD, that's a drug. LCD light type of thing that just moved. And then there was another light thing that orbited around it. And then the ball would go up and this thing would come down in the sky. I was like, look at Janet spending some money on the stage. Okay, so I love that. And again, the whole show is very bright. Lots of color, right? Even the costumes, she's wearing colors again. Janet loves to wear some black and white, right? I enjoyed the costumes. Honestly, I like most of her costumes. Y'all were giving her a lot of smoke for the Aladdin costumes from the Unbreakable tour. I like the black one. I thought that one was pretty cool. But with this show, she came out with this big old purple cloak thing, and she throws the cloak thing off, and there's this gold bodysuit with a purple ribbon bow thing, and if you see it in person, it looks so cool because of course the lights are reflecting off the outfit, so she's just glowing while she's dancing. It reminded me of the opening bodysuit she had on with the Rock With You show. If you got to see it live, there were these little strips on her suit that reflected from the stage light. So when she was dancing then, again, it was like she was glowing while she danced. It was really, really cool. And so, yeah, I really like that outfit. And then she also had this pink outfit that was kind of, and mind you, the outfits kind of fit with whatever set list or whatever act she was doing. The pink set was kind of like the really bright songs, so like It Doesn't Really Matter and All For Yous and everything like that, and Come On Get Up. And so, you know, it's really bright and pink. And I knew then, like, because I was looking at her shoes, I always was like, okay, right, if Janet got on heels, she's gonna dance, but she's gonna be cute at the same time. When she put on some like sneakers or some boots, then it's time to go. And so it was time to go when she put the pink on. And then, you know, she had like the Rhythm Nation set where it's kind of like the mix of casual with, you know, I guess industrial. So it's like the black jeans. Again, she kind of got like the sneakers, like this black shirt that says like Rhythm Nation, which is kind of cool. And then my favorite outfit, even though I just gassed up all the colors, was this black and white fit. It was like this black and white striped outfit with like some black dress pants. I think I liked it because it just reminded me of Velvet Rope Tour Janet. It reminded me so much of that. And like, that whole segment was my favorite part. That was the segment with all the big hits, you know, streaming from like Control all the way up through like, you know, I Get Lonely. I love that whole bit. That's also the bit that had Because of Love. So it was so good. So good. And Janet to me just looks like she's having fun on this tour. It looks like she's really enjoying herself and she doesn't feel pressured to try to recreate every music video on the stage. I think the challenge for somebody like a Janet, who is a visual entertainer and, you know, she's a really great dancer, is people always want her to go and recreate all the choreography from all the songs and do them exactly how they've been done in the video. And people want her to do that forever. And so I think with this show, she's very smart with the choreography. The choreography in the show, she is starting to slow down a bit, which you would expect as people get older. But I think what she does is very, very smart. So when she needs to get it in, she gets it in. So the big numbers that people really want to see, like an If, or All For You, or Miss You Much, or Rhythm Nation, or State of the World, she's still going to do the original choreography. But a lot of the newer choreography, or even I Get Lonely, which is an example, you know, she'll do a thing where she'll have new choreography mixed with the original, and she'll do a little bit of both. So like I Get Lonely was like some new stuff with the old, you know, which I think is really dope. And so a lot of the newer choreography is set up in a way where she can pace herself throughout the entire show. Because again, I don't think people understand as great as Janet Jackson is, she is 57. All right, and I don't think there's anybody else in her age bracket right now that puts on the kind of show that she does in regards to how physically demanding her show is. You know, people want her to do everything. The only other entertainer I can think of in that same age bracket that, you know, people want to see all the dancing might be Madonna. But Madonna is kind of in a different space because I just don't see them as the same kind of performer. Madonna usually has really, really big production around her and everything, and she's going to do what she does. I think with Janet has always had a lot of really raw energy on the stage, which is why I've always enjoyed watching, you know, the different shows that she has, because especially with the choreography, Janet's going to get it in. So when she needs to get it in, she gets it in, but she's having fun in this one. Like, I feel like, because like I said, I've seen her a bunch of times. My personal favorite tour that I've been to is probably Always Gonna Be Rock With You, and that's probably just because that was the first one I got to go to and I got to see it twice. But I always said, like, Rock With You tour, to me, is... I feel like Janet was fighting for her life on the stage, because it was like how I said that sometimes there's that pressure to recreate every video. On that tour, every song had choreography, and not just choreography, but the choreography from the music videos. Like, I mean, she brought out the chair routine from Miss You Much, and mind you, that was like a 2-hour and 50-minute show. And so I was just like, I was exhausted watching, but it was so much fun to watch. It was so cool. But I love how she does it on this show. And it's like the dancing tells a story. And mind you, there's only 4 dancers, so your attention is really on her. She's not drowned out by the production. She's not drowned out by the dancers. She can hold her own, but she knows when to come in and come out. And sometimes, you know, she knows when to leave it to the dancers, and she's going to work the crowd. And so this is a very personal show, it feels like. It feels like this is the most personality she's had. You know, she's joking and she's laughing and, you know, lots of interaction with the audience. And I just think the pacing of this show is very smooth. And the show just keeps going. There's never a dull moment. Even when, you know, the acts close and they get ready for the next act, before you can sit down good, she's already back on stage. I'm like, damn, Janet, okay. Like, man. And so it was such a great show. And she also starts on time, so be there on time. Don't waste time. You don't want to miss nothing. And I think what I really enjoy about this tour is the tour is just doing so well. Like, even when I was at the Virginia show, I mean, that was like 20,000, people. That entire venue was like sold out. There were no seats, And when I was looking at the numbers so far, every date that she's done has sold out. Like, she hasn't done anything like that since the 90s. So I'm enjoying watching like this comeback story. People really tried to counter her out and write her off. And I just love watching her have the success she's having, multiple nights at Madison Square Garden. She hasn't done that since, I think, the All For You tour, multiple nights in Atlanta, having to add extra shows because of demand. And so I'm enjoying watching her receive her flowers in real time. It's really, really cool. And I think she sees it as well. And I think that's why she's just having so much fun on this tour. So definitely go if you get a chance. And like I said, I don't know what my favorite... I know I said Rock With You is my favorite experience, but as far as like the actual shows, I think all of her shows have something that really stand out. With this show, again, I really love the musicality of the show. Like, the music is just so enhanced. It just sounds so good, right? And again, just the cleverness of the transitions and the staging and how everything was arranged. There'll be moments where the band would get moved to the front of the stage or moved to the back of the stage, and the screens come up and come down. Then that globe comes down and she's sitting in front of the globe. And I loved all of that, right? State of the World tour I loved because I always felt like, or even Unbreakable as well, I used to always fight with one of my friends back in the day because I never was too crazy over the number ones tour. And I just said that because I was like, I just saw Rock With You and Janet was spinning on her head. So why are we getting this auntie special? Which, it was still a good show, but I was like, wait a minute, Janet is playing with y'all. And my friend used to be like, nah, she's just getting older. She can't do all that no more. I was like, y'all are lying. So to me, Unbreakable and State of the World was kind of like Janet's gotcha moment. I was just playing. I could still do it all. I just didn't feel like doing it for y'all because y'all should have went to the Rock With You tour. Speaking of Rock With You tour, look what I found. I was randomly scrolling, and look, somebody has like the DC show of Rock With You on here, and I'm like, look at little young me in the front losing their mind to Black Cat. Like, I'm like a kid in that video. I'm only like 20 in that. So I was tickled watching that. But man, Stay Together Again tour, great show, great set list, great energy. Like I said, I like the vocals. She sounds really good on. Her voice just sounds very healthy on this one. Like, there's a richness. When she sang like Best Things in Life for Free, and like Love Will Never Do Without You and everything, I was like, she sounds really good here, and I love the confidence that she has, especially with the live singing. She's been doing it a lot more. Her shows have always been kind of mixed, where there's going to be some portions where she has the pre-recorded vocal in the support, and there's some portions where it's her just raw voice. But like, I feel like in the last 2 or 3 years, especially after watching the Essence show, I was like, she's definitely been in a space where she's a lot more comfortable doing live singing and sounds good doing it. So I was like, good for you, because people always be trying to write Janet off. I always say, for people who usually don't like Janet, it's because they probably haven't seen her live. So some people just have this assumption that a Janet concert is somebody's playing the CD and she just goes up there and dances and sits down. But really, a Janet show to me is a whole experience. Like, it's a journey into her whole catalog. The music is going to take you in all these different places. The choreography tells a story, the setting, and even the pacing of how the songs are arranged and ordered. It's all a journey. So it's a great show. Definitely check it out if you have not seen it. If Janet wants to retire after this, I'm fine with it. I'm sorry, Janet fans. I know y'all want her to do this forever. I'm good. There's nothing else she can do for me that I have I have no more expectations, because she's done everything and then some. And so, listen, I'm happy for the people who finally decided to get on the train. But see, y'all should have been here during the dark years when everybody jumped ship and the rest of us were trying to hold and keep things afloat. But yeah, if she says, hey, I've done it all, I want to go, this is going to be my bang, I fully support it. And this would be the perfect tour to do that with. But if she wants to keep going, I'm supporting that too. I'll still be at the next show. Anyway, if you got to go, tell me your 2 cents. And like I said, everybody that I got to see and meet, really nice meeting all of you guys. JR, I always get his channel wrong. He has a channel as well. We were in a competition to see who was going to release their review first. Let me shout out his channel real quick. JR World of Soul. Check out his channel. If you're a big music head, his channel is called the R&B Representers. He jumps into a lot of conversations about music and especially when you're talking R&B, not just the big commercial stuff, but even a lot of the acts that you don't often get to see. So definitely check out his channel. He does a lot of really great deep dives, and he'll always have panels and stuff where they just talk music. And so it was nice chopping it up with him. It was like, we don't even know each other, but we got up there and we talking for about 20 minutes. I felt so bad for my friend that was with me, because I know they're like, can y'all wrap it up? But yeah, great show. Look, I bought tickets for my coworker and her husband to see. I was like, somebody needs to witness the greatness that I'm witnessing. So great time. Janet, you did that. Anyway, I'm out. Share your 2 cents. Subscribe. Track.
Chill just like we did before. Access granted, cause I